Hello everybody, welcome to OCHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. Today I'm going to be listing 10 limited characters or limited units, I suppose, I would like to see in the future. Not really just next year, because some of these picks I don't think could happen within the next year, but certainly 10 I would like to see get limited at some point. Let's start things off with a character that I have predicted could be a limited, or could at least be added to the game at some point, many times, and that is Mackie Oga from Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. Obviously, the tutor of the main character, Kogarashi, and maybe at some point I would have pushed and said, you know what, she could be a Muso, she could be a Densetsu, whatever. I think the only thing I have pulling me back from that is the fact that most of the series we've seen get a Densetsu or limited, even if it's a slightly less popular series, it's a series that's at least got a stack of units. And, well, I guess at this point, Yuna's got a decent amount, I suppose, but I don't personally see it. Could happen, I don't know, but certainly a limited. 100% makes sense for a limited. I still believe that this character has been made and exists somewhere in the devs files on one of their computers, and at some point they'll drop her. Just because I think the event seemed to be set up for Yuna to counter somebody, and then just they never added anybody for her to counter. And they made that event super short because they had to make the Bleach event longer for some reason. And yeah, they just never added her. They never added anybody for Yuna to counter. So I believe that she exists, and that someday we will see her added to the game as a limited. Maybe she was supposed to be event unit back then, but I think now, if you've got her ready, and you don't need to add her as an event, you could probably just add her as a limited, maybe. I think that's what we should do. Maybe it's not one of the best picks ever, but I'd be a fan. Next up, we have... oh, this is a very nice one. We have Knocking Master Jiro from Toriko. Now, Toriko is an interesting one because it only has one limited still. I really feel like it's a series that's been underserved for how big the world is. I know in terms of popularity, some might say it's like a bit more questionable than some of the bigger series, but it's still big enough that it should have a little bit more content in Jumputi. And I would say we still haven't had Zebra. Like, when was Sunny added? Sunny was added during... I think Sunny was added during the 4th anniversary? No, 3rd. Was it the 3rd anniversary? I think it must have been. And then Coco was added during that... I can't remember what it's called. The Gourmet whatever event. That was a bit later that year. And then I think that was the last Toriko stuff we got. And that was cool. That little gourmet festival thing was like a cool little event. It did add a decent amount of Toriko stuff, but we still don't have Zebra, and we're still missing like a lot of the big stuff from the series, from later in the series. I know there are some people that say there's potentially some Muso candidates or Densetsu candidates from Toriko, and you might be right. I don't know. You might be right. And maybe even Jiro could have been one of them, but I think certainly Knocking Master Jiro can be a limited added to the game at some point, and I think that would go really hard. Like, have him in like his little old man form, but then when he uses his like ultimate attack, he turns into his big buff crazy form that you see here. Yes, 100% yes. That would be so cool. We need more Toriko content. We need more Toriko limiteds. And I think maybe sometimes it's like, oh, how do we approach the main characters being limiteds and whatever? Like, we've already got Toriko. I don't really know. But Jiro, it's obvious. It's obvious he should be limited. So 100% down for that. Next up, when I was talking about ones that may be added a bit later, maybe not next year, this is one of the ones I was talking about. It's Mackie Zenin from Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I should say this is obviously from quite late in the series, or at least a lot later in the series, and considering the series is not in the game yet, and for all we know, may never be added to the game. It's a bit tricky to say she should be added as a limited, but when I was reading the manga, I love Jujutsu Kaisen. There's lots of really cool stuff in there. There's lots of really cool characters I am drawn to. But this specific version of Mackie from this specific arc, it was one of the absolute best parts of the story for me. I loved it so much. It was so well executed. I was fully on board. The entire time I was like, oh god, I need another chapter. I need it. And then the next week would come and I would be rewarded for waiting. I'd be rewarded for my patience. And yeah, it's just, it'd be such a cool character to see. Obviously, there are tons of candidates from Jujutsu Kaisen. There are tons that we could see get added, and yeah, sure. I mean, maybe you have some favorites that haven't been added to the game yet, and you'd like, you know, the series hasn't been added yet, so obviously they haven't been added. But maybe you choose them over her, and that's fine. But someday, I want to see Mackie added as a limited to the game. I have a strong suspicion if they did add this version of Mackie, she might even just be a standard gacha, which I would be very disappointed with. I don't want this version of her to be undersold because it is awesome and certainly limited worthy. Next up is another one from a series that hasn't been added to the game yet, but probably has a much better chance, and that is Andy and Fouca from Undead Unluck. I think that actually would be a very cool little pairing, dual unit limited, to be added to start the series off. Like if they want to add Andy and then Fouca separately, and maybe both make them both standard gacha or maybe whatever, I guess that can work. But the two of them together is kind of the point of the story. And so I would actually like to see them as a limited, a dual limited. If you want to add them separately as well, that's fine. And maybe do that first and then a dual limited later. I'm on board with that too. But 100%, I would love to see the dual unit limited in the same vein of the dual unit limiteds we've had before that are just like, it's just an awesome pairing of them just destroying stuff together. That's what I want to see. I want to see them destroying stuff together. And I can only imagine what the Ultimate Attack animation would look like. And I would be so happy to see it added to the game. Honestly, it's one of the series I'm most excited for to be added to the game. And now that Roboco's here, maybe there's a chance. Who knows? Maybe there is just a chance. And, I mean, just add the whole series. Add all the characters. But these two, dual unit, yes please. Next up is a bit more of a rogue shout. I wanted, with these videos where I'm doing these like top 10s, I kind of didn't want to focus on the same series. And so I kind of tried to mix it up a little bit. So pretty much between the 30 picks I have between the 3 videos I had set up to record, I didn't want to cover the same series more than once. Obviously there are the other videos that I have covered more series in, but this pick is from Hinamaru Zumo. And now obviously I tried to pick characters that don't already have a version in the game, and obviously Hinamaru already has a version in the game. I'd like to see a limited version, but I've chosen Norihiro Seno Yama, who is quite a prominent character from the post-time skip world of Hinamaru Zumo. We don't have any post-time skip stuff, which is crazy to me. But it was difficult to pick a limited option from post-time skip that wasn't just Hinamaru. There are a lot of characters that are potential options. I guess you could do like a V2 Kuze Sosuke or something like that. Even the Yokozuna, while I think would make more sense as an event unit, yeah, I could see him added as like a limited or whatever. But I think this is one of the stronger picks for a limited out of characters that are not already in the game. And to be honest, I just want more Hinamaru Zumo content. And I'm a little bit sad that we haven't got any. Maybe this year. When was the last time we got stuff? I think it was 2019? Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. You all know that I want to see Gojo Reina added, and obviously a V2 of Hinamaru. But yeah, why not add Seno Yama as well? Events have like 2 limiteds now anyway, so why not? Next up, this one's kind of important. On the Japanese version of Jumputi Heroes, this series does not have a limited, but it does have a Muso grade character, and that is of course Hoshin Engi. Now, I've chosen Nento Dojin as a pick for a character that is not already in the game, that potentially could be a limited. But isn't it just crazy that Hoshin Engi hasn't had a limited? I know some people will say, Hoshin Engi, like, who cares, whatever. But realistically, if they decided it was worth giving a Muso, how can you not give it a limit? That doesn't make any sense. You're willing to... You think people would be willing to spend 24,000 rubies on a character from this series, but they wouldn't be willing to spend 9,250. That just does not add up at all. So I don't really get why they never had a limited from the series. And obviously there are options. You could give us a limited Taikubo, or some of the other characters, like for example Lina Taku could be a limited version. But I've chosen Nento Dojin because very powerful character, not currently represented in the series. And I would love to see him adapted into a limited. Really surprising we haven't had another, any limiteds from Hoshin Engi. I know the Taiwan server does have one, but that's a character that we have turned into a free unit. But still, at least one, surely at least one. Next up, this one I'm a little bit unsure of. Well, I'm going to get it up straight away. Is Jotaro and Jolene. Part 6 is coming up. Recently, every feature festival has had 2 limiteds. So, for JoJo Part 6, how would you handle 2 limiteds? Because I sort of assumed that when we did get a limited from this event, it would only be 1 limited, and it would be Jotaro and Jolene together. Sure, you can make an argument for Jolene by herself. Sure, I guess you could make an argument for Jotaro by himself. I've seen some people make an argument for Pucci being added as a limited. But, I mean, all in all, it doesn't really... I don't really know how it adds up to a feature festival. Like, the character choices you could make from the actual event for standard gacha and for event units, 100%, but the limiteds are a bit tougher. Now, admittedly, they might just do 2 limiteds that are not related. You could have a Jotaro and Jolene limited, and then you could have like a... something from another series that just happens to be happening at the same time as this feature festival. Or heck, you could just have 1. I mean, maybe they'll change their policy and they'll start doing feature festivals with 1 again. That'd be fine too, but I really like the idea of Jotaro and Jolene together. If you want to do Jolene standalone, I think that's fine. I do like the first version of a protagonist being added as standard gacha, and then doing a limited, which is why I was a bit disappointed with Giorno. Started as a limited, doesn't have a standard gacha version. I'd like to see a standard gacha Jolene before I saw a limited one, and I think like a standard gacha Jolene and then a limited Jolene and Jotaro would be quite cool. I don't want to see a standalone Jotaro limited. We already have 2. I don't really think we need a 3rd. Maybe they will just do it because he's such a popular character, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. Next one. I don't really have that much to say to prep you for this one. It's Star and Stripe from My Hero Academia. I thought when she was added, she was a really cool character. And then the story unfolded. And... well, it happened, you know? If you've read the story, you know what happens. I don't really know what to say beyond... I thought she was really cool. And I was really excited. I was down for whatever was going to happen. And I really feel like the story did her dirty. And did us as the fans dirty, just a little bit. I know she served her purpose ultimately, but introduced such a cool and such a powerful character and then just sort of just be done with them that quickly. I don't think that was ideal. And I would argue that had we not just got a Densetsu version of All Might, and you know, was it an option for the future had they done more of her in the story, she could have been an option for that. But I think ultimately limited would be fair. I couldn't see her as an event unit. Well, sorry, I couldn't see her as a standard gacha unit. I could maybe see her as an event unit, but I think limited is fair for her. I don't know how popular she is outside of... well, I don't know how popular she is in general, to be honest. So it might not be a good decision. I don't know. But I think she's limited worthy. And I think if you're doing a My Hero Academia event and you're going to have 2 limiteds anyway, there's no reason why she can't be one of them. So hopefully we do see that, and hopefully the devs don't do her dirty the same way Horikoshi did. Next up, we have one that I have predicted many times. Many times. That is Kiniku Ataru, or Kinnikuman Soldier. This is a character I like a lot. I like Kinnikuman a lot. The series is great. Obviously, some of the old stuff is a bit rough, and there's some things that are a little bit questionable in the early material. As time moves on, it just gets better and better, and the art gets better and better. And then after the continuation, the ending, and then the continuation, the art increased in quality significantly, and so did the story. And I think that's great. And there's loads of characters missing from the series that I would love to see added, and some of them maybe could be limited, and some of them maybe not. But I think Kiniku Ataru 100% deserving of a limited. And I mean, I've said it so many times before, like, I really like the series, and I'm really disappointed that they don't really seem to want to do much with it. They did the feature festival, and they had like little bits here and there where they did like the gold week where they gave Gold Man away for free and stuff like that, but we haven't had any content from it in a very long time. And even if I can't get another feature festival, just please, just a throwaway limited, an event, something. I'm begging you. I love this series. But it is what it is. Finally, we have one that I think should have been added by now. And I think there's actually signs that it may be added in the near future. And that is Ashirogi Muto, which is the pairing of Moritaka Mashiro and Akito Takagi from Bakuman. We have had the release on the Taiwan server of a new limited from Hikaru no Go and a new limited from Death Note. Obviously, there is a crossover of artists between these three series. So, is there potentially a chance that maybe, just maybe, they could have some sort of sensei feature, some sort of collaboration type event planned for these series? And that's why, say for example, Light and Ryuk haven't made their way over to the JP server yet, but at some point they may do in some sort of collaboration event. And if they do, this needs to be there. This series is so good. It's such a good series, and it is so underrepresented in Jumputi. Giving these to a limited is an absolute must. I'm so shocked they haven't touched the series, and the series does not have a limited. It's had hardly any content since, what was the last content it got? 2019, maybe? Long time ago. Like, just, it seems obvious to me. I don't know why the devs have chosen not to use it that much. It's quite a popular series, but yeah, it's a must. It's an absolute must. They have to be a dual unit as well. When you make them limited, they have to be a dual unit. But that's it for today. That's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if there's any that I have missed, any characters that are not currently in the game that absolutely have to be added as a limited, I know some of those were kind of cheating because they were dual units, but I'm counting them as their own thing, so whatever. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.